It started in 1994 at a small late-night radio station just outside Chicago, the kind of place where truckers and insomniacs tune in for weather reports, lonely songs, and half-hearted conversations about nothing. But that year, the calls began. Calls from a voice no one could trace, a voice that sounded thin, distant, almost like it was traveling across time itself. The first call came on a stormy night in October. The station was nearly empty, just one host, a man named Richard Hale, and a young intern named Laura. Richard answered the call like any other, but the voice on the other end didn't ask for a song. It didn't say hello. It just whispered, "Is this the operator? Please. The fire has started. My house is burning." Richard froze. He asked for a name, an address, but the line crackled with static, like an old phonograph buried in sand. Then the voice said something neither of them would ever forget. "The year is 1928. Please, can you send someone?" And then the line went dead. At first they thought it was a prank, a Halloween joke. But something about the fear in that voice didn't sound acted. It sounded real, broken, terrified. Richard reported it to the station manager. They ignored it. But the next night, the same voice called again. This time, crying. "Please, someone. I can smell the smoke. The doors won't open. William is still upstairs. I can hear him screaming." "Why won't anybody come?" Richard asked. "Where are you calling from? What city? What number?" The voice whispered, "Eldridge House, Halbrook, Illinois." And then, static. "There is no Eldridge House in Halbrook, Illinois. There is no Halbrook, Illinois. Not anymore." Richard didn't sleep for days. He began digging through newspapers, maps, fire insurance reports from the late 1920s. And that's when he found it. A town called Halbrook did exist. Briefly. Population 312. A mining town built in 1919 and erased from most state records after a fire in March of 1928. A fire that began in a house owned by the Eldridge family. A fire that killed the mother and her 7-year-old son. 3 days later, the phone rang again. But this time, the voice wasn't frantic. It was quiet, resigned. "Is this the operator?" the woman asked again. Richard swallowed. "Yes, I'm here." There was a long silence. Then she said, "I don't think anyone is coming, is there?" Richard said, "Where are you right now?" Her answer was soft, distant, like a lullaby. "In the hallway. The floor is hot. The telephone line is melting. I can hear William crying upstairs. I can't reach him. I can't breathe." Richard said, "Ma'am, listen to me. What's your name?" The voice responded, "Clara. Clara Eldridge. Please tell my husband." I tried. And then the sound of crackling fire swallowed her words, and the line went dead. Richard took a recorder the next night. He hit record before answering. "Clara? Are you there?" A pause. Then, "How do you know my name?" Richard tried to explain that it was 1994, that she had been calling from the past, that he was trying to help. But Clara began to cry. "You're lying. It's 1928. It's March. I can hear the church bells," Richard whispered. "What date?" "March 3rd, she said. "The night of the fire." But when Richard checked the calendar, it was March 3rd, in 1994. Exactly 66 years to the day. Richard begged her, "Clara, listen to me. You have to leave the house. Take your son and get out." But she just said, "I can't. The door won't open, and the telephone won't reach you much longer." Then quietly, "I don't think this is a telephone anymore." And then the call ended. The recording ended with a single sound, a distant child coughing, then silence. Richard brought the tape to historians, archivists, anyone who would listen. Most dismissed it as a hoax. But one professor from the University of Chicago, Dr. Margaret Ellison, didn't. She found records, real ones. A fire destroyed the Eldridge home, she said. March 3rd, 1928. Clara and her son William died inside. Her husband, Henry Eldridge, was away in Chicago. The official report mentioned something disturbing. When they found Clara's body, she was clutching a telephone in her right hand. The phone line had melted into her skin. After that, Richard stopped answering phone calls altogether. But Laura couldn't let it go. She kept the tapes, played them again and again. Then she noticed something. In one recording, at the very end, after Clara stopped speaking, there's another voice, a whisper, a man's voice, saying, "Operator, I made it out. My wife and son are inside. Please, connect me." Laura couldn't breathe. She played it again. The voice continued, "Please connect me to the Eldridge house. Quick, I need to warn them. The fire hasn't started yet." It was Henry Eldridge, Clara's husband, calling from somewhere else. Another time, trying to stop something that had already happened. For weeks, Laura tried dialing the number she believed Clara was calling from. An old rotary phone number she found on a scorched newspaper clipping, Halbrook 731. Most times, it was just static. But one night, someone answered. A young boy. He sounded no older than 7. He said, "Hello? Who is this? Are you calling for my mother?" Laura's throat tightened. "What's your name?" "William," he said, and then the sound of someone calling from another room. "William? Who are you talking to?" The boy whispered into the phone. "I think the operator is here again." And then the line cut. Laura unplugged her phone that night. Richard burned the tapes. But it didn't matter. The calls continued. Sometimes it was Clara. Sometimes it was only the fire, crackling, screaming. Sometimes a voice would whisper over and over, "Is this the operator? Is this the operator?" Why won't anyone answer? In 1996, the radio station shut down, equipment sold, phone numbers disconnected. But in 1997, a new tenant moved into the broadcast building. An accountant named Stephen Harper. On his first week there, the phone rang. He answered. A woman's voice, calm, familiar. "Is this the operator?" "Please, my house is burning," Stephen asked, confused. "Who is this?" She said, Clara Eldridge. "Is my husband there?" Stephen hung up. The phone rang again, and again, and again, until he unplugged it. The phone kept ringing. People say you can still hear it. On stormy nights. On radio frequencies no one listens to anymore. Somewhere between the static and silence. A woman asking for the operator. A boy calling from the upstairs hallway. A man begging for a connection that never comes. They say, sometimes, if you answer, you don't hear them. They hear you.